X2. Who hasn't heard of this mesmerizing coaster? This monster first of its kind and one of a kind 4D coaster in Southern California is something else. Just looking at the ride, you don't know what to think. It's super unique, and it can even make the biggest of thrill seekers nervous for their first ride. While this ride may seem like a success on paper, it was actually Aerodynamics, the manufacturer of the coaster, that has built rides all across the world's final roller coaster. So, what if X2 was never built? Would Aero still be in business? Would Magic Mountain be as popular as it is now? Well, you came to the right place. Welcome to a series that will inspire you to imagine the possibilities. Welcome to What If. Aerodynamics, also known as Aero Development, were the kings of the OG coaster wars throughout the 1970s and 80s. Aero would become the first ever coaster manufacturer to make a modern coaster go upside down. When the Corkscrew opened in Knott's Berry Farm in 1975, it would become one of the most innovative and awe-inspiring roller coasters to be built. The manufacturer would continue to build more of these modern steel inverting roller coasters around the country. Rides like Vortex at Kings Island and Anaconda at Kings Dominion were some of their best work throughout their early years. One of their biggest coasters they built throughout the early years was the Loch Ness Monster at Busch Williamsburg. This ride opened to the public on June 6, 1978. This would become one of the first and last roller coasters to include interlocking loops. This element would contain two loops stacked on one another. This element would wow the general public and draw in enthusiasts from around the country. In the late 70s, Aero would introduce a new model to the amusement industry, the suspended swinging coaster. This model, along with their custom loopers, put Aero on the map. Rides like the Bat, Iron Dragon, and the Big Bad Wolf added on to Aero's popularity. As the manufacturer continued to grow, they would build bigger and badder rides, like the Magnum XL 200, the first ever full-circuit hyper roller coaster. Aero would continue to build numerous coasters and other various attractions throughout the 80s and 90s. They would then hire legendary roller coaster designer Alan Schilke in the 90s. He would help Aero evolve their designs by updating some of their iconic models and making them better. Rides like Roadrunner Express at Six Flags Fiesta, Texas. This ride added a modern twist to their vintage mine train model. It would also help out with the Tennessee Tornado at Dollywood, which is by far the smoothest and quite arguably the best Aero looper in the world. Alan Schilke would then create quite arguably one of his most adventurous and a one-of-a-kind concept for a new model. He created a rough computer animation for a ride he designed called the Fourth Dimension. At first, Schilke's design had been stored away after being criticized by colleagues for being too intense, one that would make people sick and believed to be impossible to design. However, he sent it in anyway, and they were amazed with what they saw. Alan Schilke would create a prototype to show the true potential of the new fourth-dimensional roller coaster. Everyone at Aero and a handful from Six Flags came to the hangar to ride the scale prototype. The prototype turned out to be a hit, and Six Flags gave the green light to move forward with this project. In December 2000, Six Flags Magic Mountain sent shockwaves through the industry when they announced a massive project consisting of 3 roller coasters. It was the largest expansion at the park since its opening in '71. Debuting first would be Deja Vu, the next generation boomerang roller coaster and the tallest and fastest suspending looping coaster of its kind. And finally, the biggest announcement would be X, a cutting-edge, one-of-a-kind roller coaster designed to break every kind of limit in the book. X opened to the public at Six Flags Magic Mountain on January 12, 2002, and it received tons of publicity and praise from media and thrill seekers. This ride alone is known for making Six Flags Magic Mountain what it is today. However, the ride was problematic. Several mechanical problems caused the ride to close down for repairs during much of its first year of operation. This would begin the fall of Aero. In the end, the company finally fell into bankruptcy in 2001. This was due to the sheer high cost of X. At the end of October 2002, the company's assets were sold to fellow amusement ride manufacturer S&S. This would be heartbreaking news, as Aerodynamics were the true pioneers of the amusement industry. Chief engineer Alan Schilke would work with S&S for a few years, only to leave and develop a contracting company called Ride Centerline. The company would work closely with Fred Grubb with his new company called Rocky Mountain Construction, and they together would build some of the biggest and baddest roller coasters we know today. X, now known as X2, revolutionized the amusement industry. But now, let's go back. Let's go all the way back to the start of the millennium. Alan Schilke is helping Arrow update some of their older models as he develops this fourth dimension model, but never sends it in and hides it away. X never opens or becomes a reality. So, what if Schilke never went through with this model? What if X was never built? What this all creates is a Nexus Event. A Nexus Event is an important moment in a timeline when branch realities are created. This then establishes a multiverse. To summarize, if a key event that has already taken place never occurred, there are many different possible outcomes. So, let's take a look at some of them. X is arguably what put Six Flags Magic Mountain on the map. So if X never opened, where would Magic Mountain be? In 2002, the park opened their latest roller coaster, Deja Vu. The Tacoma Giant Inverted Boomerang really escalated the park to the next level since the park is now focused on adding thrill rides. While Deja Vu was a great addition to the park, it wasn't anything groundbreaking. In 2004, the park built a B&M floorless coaster, similar to Scream, but not in exact layout. Since the park didn't make much money throughout the next couple years, Tatsu, the B&M flying coaster that was a big help for Magic Mountain's coaster growth, never came to be. The park eventually received a GCI Woody like Apocalypse in 2007. While Magic Mountain grew to become a top-tier coaster destination, Cedar Point in Sandusky, Ohio would reign supreme in the coaster world. Most of the money would go to other Six Flags parks like Great Adventure, Great America, and Fiesta, Texas, which would even out each other's coaster lineups. However, Magic Mountain would eventually receive a massive Intamin launch coaster in 2009. This would be the headline attraction of the park, and it still is to this day. While Magic Mountain is still a great park, it isn't the best of its kind by any means necessary. Now, let's answer the biggest question we all have. Did Arrow stay in business? The short answer is yes, Arrow did stay in business. Since X never opened, Arrow never had to pay for its large amount of mechanical issues. Instead, Alan Schilke worked with Arrow to build more modern versions of their old models. Throughout the next 7 years, they would continue to build more rides. Parks like Over Texas would invest in the modern Arrow Custom Looper, and they would be a smash hit. In 2009, Arrow would come into Busch Gardens, Williamsburg, and completely refurbish the Big Bad Wolf, which allowed the Wolf to still operate to this day. Now, with Alan Schilke staying at Arrow and never leaving, S&S Power would never become the manufacturer we know of in this dimension. Instead, it would go out of business in 2015. Their air-launched model would never become a reality, and since X2 was never built, Dinoconda and Egenica S&S 4th Dimension coasters would never get built as well. This also means that RMC never becomes the roller coaster manufacturer we all know of it as today. They would eventually burst onto the scene, but they wouldn't reach their worldwide fame in the amusement industry like they have now. One thing that Arrow drastically changed was their track and overall look in 2011. Similar to Vekoma, the track design just wasn't holding up in today's era, so Arrow completely renovated their track design to make it more modern and smooth. They would even begin to build custom-launched coasters that were loaded with inversions from start to finish. The closest thing you could compare this to are the Gerstlauer Infinity coasters. They would even go on to build Giga coasters with the help of Alan Schilke. Their first Giga coaster would go to Kings Island in 2018, and right now it is known as one of the best coasters in the world. However, there aren't more yet. As of now, this is the only Giga coaster by Arrow. However, it looks like more are on the way. With Arrow still in business, some of their older ride models that went defunct still operate to this day. Rides like Vortex at Kings Island and Desperado at Buffalo Bills Hotel are all still running smoothly. It looks like aerodynamics still has a bright future throughout the next decade. While X2 may not exist, it's good to see Arrow still thriving in the amusement industry today. But whatever did happen with the 4th dimension concept? Well, one manufacturer did end up building this abnormal model. B&M is known for being the true innovators in the amusement industry. I mean, they built the first stand-up coaster, the first floorless coaster, the first inverted coaster, and the first dive coaster. B&M was looking to make another innovative coaster model, so they developed the 4th dimension concept. B&M would introduce this model in 2009, and they would first open it up in 2012 at Busch Gardens, Tampa. This would use the leftover space from Rhino Rally, meaning Cheetah Hunt never became a reality. This ride would be more like Ejanica, a crazy out-of-control ride that pulls insane forces from start to finish. The model would be a first of its kind, and enthusiasts fled to BGT to be one of the first riders on this new kind of coaster. And everyone loved it. This once again put B&M back on the map, as they would continue to build more coasters across the world. SeaWorld would purchase another one for Busch Gardens Williamsburg, and it would be located in Drachenfire's former plot, and would open in 2015. Cedar Fair would even buy one for Cedar Point, as this would replace Mean Streak and would open up for their 150th anniversary celebration. There are plans on more of these B&M 4D coasters to open, so all we can do is wait and see what happens. However, all of this never happened. In January 2002, X opened at Six Flags Magic Mountain. While it would be a hit for the park, its problematic design and numerous mechanical issues would drive aerodynamics out of business. Alan Schilke would work for S&S for a little while helping design Ejanica and Dinoconda, and would create his own company where he would work with Fred Grubb of RMC to build some of the biggest and baddest roller coasters to date. X2 still operates to this day and is still known as one of the best and most intense roller coasters in the world. Sure, a lot could have happened, but all we can do is dream and ask the simple question, what if? Thank you all for watching my second episode of my brand new series, What If? We have 8 episodes left in this series, and each one will drop Wednesday at 3 p.m. Eastern, with the next episode being What If Paramount Parks Never Sold Their Parks? To ensure you don't miss an episode, be sure to subscribe and click the notification bell so you can be here for the next episode. Also, to hear more updates or deleted sections of What If, make sure to check out my podcast On the Hunt, where we dive into these complex ideas. Finally, if you ever need some non-copyrighted off-rides or POVs as seen in this video, check out my second channel, TPH Productions. As always, this is Hunter from Theme Park Hunting. I'll see you guys later, and follow the thrill.